Mark Narducci with the Philadelphia Inquirer. Please go ahead.
Hey, Brett, so much has been said about the aggressiveness of Ben Simmons, but also J.J. last night only had 6 shots, and neither Ben or J.J. are getting to the free throw line. How problematic has that been in this series, in your opinion?
I mean, I think with J.J., that's never really been sort of an area that I think defines, does he play well or doesn't he, is he aggressive or isn't he, that's sort of not his thing. With Ben, I think that it's true, like he has not gotten to the line as much as he did in, say, a Brooklyn series or the regular season, and we just hope to encourage, him and help him as much as we can, especially in early offense. I see it that simply.
But one other thing, do you think also one of the reasons maybe he's not been as aggressive is that he hasn't been handling the ball as much maybe as he did in the regular season with Jimmy taking over, a lot of the handling?
I think it's overrated. I think when you look at, there is a portion of it, Mark, that this is true. But like when you sort of judge, let's just go to miss offense. It's a third of our sport. When you ultimately go back and look at sort of a game, a third generally of possessions will come out of sort of miss offense, early offense. And I think in that environment, he's brilliant. He really, to me, is at his best in that world. And then you go to sort of the other third of the sport offensively, it's made baskets. Like, what do you do after made baskets? And it is true at times, we give Jimmy the ball. There is a portion of that where Jimmy is actually the point guard anyways. And so I hope to, help Ben continue that aggressive open court mentality, but to I think connect the dots too much would be a mistake. And I think coming back to Philadelphia, we're going to see an aggressive Ben Simmons in the environments that I just said.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Kevin Kinkead with Crossing Broad. Please go ahead.
Hey, Brent, I guess this kind of follows up a little bit on what Mark was talking about. When the offense is out of sync, especially in the half court, in that first quarter, second quarter, you see Jimmy start to take over a little bit more. That's all good and well because he can create his own shot, but you're not necessarily incorporating the other guys into the offense at that point who are kind of out of rhythm and need to get into it. So, I mean, are you seeing that in the second quarter when Jimmy starts to take over to help out a little bit? Maybe it's not getting everybody else involved and getting them back into a groove?
A little bit. I think like when you cut to the chase and you look at sort of what is our most efficient offense, one of the areas is clearly Jimmy Butler in a middle pick and roll. And so you're mindful that this has been in this series an excellent look for us. And, in that world, it is true you have people more spaced than moved. And ultimately, it gets down to, how do you create sort of movement? It isn't always you make 5 passes. Sometimes it's how do you generate scrambles and closeouts and 2-on-1 situations where the ripple effect is, ultimately you're attacking closeouts. And so, somewhere in the middle of all of that, you hope to, play both sides where you do have multiple passes, everybody's moving, but you're not stubborn enough to recognize that Jimmy Butler in a middle pick and roll has been a good look for us.
Next we'll go to the line of Yanir Rubinstein with Hoops Israel. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach. I have a question about the Raptors' defense and offense. So when you look at how the Raptors play defensively, do you agree that it's somewhat EuroLeague inspired, and do you see Sergio Scariolo's footprint in that? And then on the offense, similarly, in the way Gasol and Ibaka are being engaged offensively, have you thought to try to counter it by looking at some of Scariolo's national team film?
I mean, first I'll start out with I have a tremendous amount of respect for Coach. I've coached against him in the Olympic Games. I've coached against him internationally for several years. I think that I'm sure his assistance and impact Mark, the program has felt tremendously. As it relates to anything that I see differently, I can't sort of connect those dots. I still see, a lot of NBA schemes. They're excellent in a lot of switching. I do give credit to, and I'm sure Coach has something to do with this, a lot to do with this. I think the chemistry of Serge and Mark might not be as discussed as it could be, should be, like the history of those two guys playing together under Coach, I'm sure is incredibly beneficial. In relation to schematic stuff, either defense or sets offensively, what I see is commonplace in the NBA. They're really good at it, and to date they have been some of their looks, some of their defensive schemes have been difficult for us to handle. As it is with lots of NBA teams at this stage of the season, I think the schemes are quite consistent. I do give them credit for doing it very well.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have a line of Kai Carlin with Sixers Wire. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I just wanted to ask, what kind of message are you sending to the team right now that you are facing elimination here in Game 6? What's the message like to kind of keep the spirit up and have them be ready to go?
I mean, it wasn't anything that wasn't anything but truthful. I think that we have shown we have the ability to play good basketball. We have shown we have the ability to beat the Toronto Raptors. We have shown we have been good at times, very good in Philadelphia in front of an amazing home crowd. The notion that, you're down and out is not even a part of our mindset. It certainly isn't a part of my message. As I said to the media last night, nobody is hanging their head or, second guessing anything. We feel great about sort of what we're trying to do defensively and things that for sure we can do better offensively. But we're excited to come back to Philadelphia. If you just sort of look at last year, there were two examples of teams coming back from 3-2 deficits. And, whether you point to that or just the complete belief that we have what we need to get it done. And, everybody right now is just excited to go play again and especially play again here in Philadelphia.
Thank you, Coach.
Once again, if you have a question, please press star 1. Next, we have a line of John Johnson with KYW News Radio.
Hey, Brett. Coming off of last night, do you just throw the tape out the window and focus on what worked for you in the 2 wins, or do you use this limited time to kind of delve into the tape?
I completely delve into the tape. I think it's a snapshot of things that we need to do better first, and secondly, things that we may need to fix a little bit, tweak up a little bit. I think when you go into Game 6, the table is set for the most part on both sides of the ball. As I said a moment ago, we feel comfortable defensively, offensively, that the path is clean. We like the path. We just have to do what we do better. There will be some incremental changes, but to discount completely last night, I do not do that. Will it be a witch hunt? No, it won't. And we will hold our guys together and still obviously hold people accountable. And there are things everybody can do, me, the players, whatever. But to dismiss what happened last night, I'm not doing that.
Next question comes from Sarah Todd from Philadelphia Inquirer. Please go ahead.
Hi, Brett. We've talked a lot about the disadvantages or merits or trapping or doubling Kawhi. So I'm kind of wondering what your views are on the idea of just single coverage and instead letting him get what he's going to get and covering up the other holes on the team.
I mean, it's always kind of the holy grail when you deal with elite scorers. And I've used the example before. I'll use it again. My 12 years with Pop and the Spurs, you would go into series having to game plan against Dirk or Kevin Durant or, you know, Kobe's the one that most comes to my mind because I do think, you know, there's some similarities with how Kawhi is so gifted at creating his own shot. The notion of, you know, do you let somebody or do you just sort of concede what sword are you going to die on? If somebody gets 45, 50, pick a number 40, you know, are you going to be okay? Can you win like that? Or at some point, do you have to shake some stuff up and show him different looks? And so at times it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. The punishment with the Raptors, as I've said, and I know everybody knows, is the three-point shot behind Kawhi with a bunch of different, you know, tremendous three-point NBA shooters is the best in the league. And so to sort of declare our hand that we're happy to have, you know, Kawhi get 40 and guard everybody else versus from time to time, you know, there's going to have to be some double teams and crowds and that type of thing shown to have some semblance of a disruptive sort of environment where it's not a steady diet of anything interests me probably the most.